Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. So, I hope everyone is doing well this morning. I hope that you guys are having a great week so far. It's Wednesday, so we're halfway there. So, let's get started talking today. So, I want to welcome you to Coffee and C-Suite Conversations. This is my Wednesday weekly Facebook Live series where we'll talk about leadership, personal development, self-care, community, and if you have any topics that you want me to discuss, then just leave me a comment and I'll definitely try to get it on the schedule as well. So again, good morning and welcome to Coffee and C-Suite Conversations. And today's topic is what's holding you back? So this is something that I really wanted to talk about because, we are still early in 2019. And for some of us, we have some resolutions and some goals that we still are being in a stuck phase with. We just haven't gotten it off the ground. So I wanted to talk about why that is and maybe some strategies and some things that we can do to kind of move past that feeling of just being stuck. So I have my coffee this morning, so I'm ready to go and I'm ready to engage and have this conversation with you. So like I was saying, it's 2019. It's still really early in the beginning of the year. And for some of us, we've made New Year's resolutions. We've come up with these goals that we have for ourselves. And it could be starting a business. It could be writing a book. It could be losing weight, traveling. It could be advancing our careers and going after a promotion or a leadership position. But, we always start off the new year with these goals or with these resolutions or these things that we want to do and be able to, put forth into the world for 2019. And for some of us, it's just hard to kind of get it going, We may not have, stuck our toe in the water yet. We find it hard to do that. Or for some of us, maybe we've stuck our toe in the water, but we just can't go any further. So I wanted to kind of just talk about that and talk about the why behind why we get stuck or what's holding us back. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Lisa. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a C-suite coach, and I help women physicians transition into leadership roles so that they can implement change and be part of the solution in the healthcare industry. My focus in terms of leadership is a holistic sort of coaching. And what I want to do is just to be able to help you to succeed in work and help you to be able to succeed in life. And my mission really is to increase the number of women physicians that we have in leadership roles so that we can have a bigger voice in the healthcare industry, so we can have a bigger voice in terms of the answers to some of the questions that we have in terms of healthcare, and so that we can improve the lives of women and children. So thank you guys for joining. Hi, Lori. Hi, Bianca. Thanks for joining. Good morning. So I'm just getting started talking about this topic of what's holding you back. And what I talked about so far was just that, in 2019, some of us have resolutions and some of us have goals that we want for ourselves. But sometimes we just find ourselves stuck. We just can't move forward. We dip our toe in the water, but we just don't move forward kind of past that. So that we never really see the results that we're looking for. So we're just going to sort of jump in and really talk about that. So the first thing that I wanted to do is sort of give you just a little personal story so that you can sort of get an idea of, when I say what's holding you back, what we're really talking about. And my personal story is, having also to do with this topic as well. And I want to just kind of go through that, to go through sort of some of the things that I was feeling, because I'm sure it's something that you guys are also experiencing as well. So good morning, good morning. So for me, I practiced medicine for 20 plus years. I also had leadership roles. I was a medical director for a family planning clinic. I also had leadership roles in corporate medicine, in clinical academic medicine, and also in healthcare administration. So, and during that time, I was also raising 2 young kids. I was a wife, and had other responsibilities as well. And what I was starting to realize was that I was on autopilot. Good morning, Kim. So I was on autopilot, right? I was just getting up every morning, kind of doing the same thing, doing the same routine, and just not really taking the time to sort of step back and recharge. I didn't have a self-care plan, I didn't have balance in my life, all the things that I really coach about and talk about now. I really didn't have that going on in my life at the time. And I was starting to sort of just be in this cycle, this vicious cycle of just, like I said, being on autopilot and not really sort of stepping back and taking the time to really think about what it was that I wanted to do, and to think about the aspirations and the goals that I set for myself. And we often do that as women, we just sort of operate on autopilot because it's comfortable. And we operate on autopilot because we're also trying to make sure that everybody else is taken care of, to make sure that everybody else is happy. And then when we turn around, years later, we really don't, we look back, and we say, well, what have we done for ourselves, right? So I wanted to talk about that today, about what's really holding us back from moving forward. So in terms of my own personal story, like I said, I continue to kind of go through autopilot. I continue to kind of be on this vicious cycle of this path of really not taking care of myself, to the point where I experienced what I know now, to be, burnout. But some of that burnout wasn't just the amount of time, that I was putting in, the hours and all of that. A lot of it was just being frustrated with not being able to achieve the things that I really wanted to do in life, right? Because I was just kind of going through the motions every day of what I thought other people wanted me to do, or what I thought society wanted me to do, and of what I thought my loved ones wanted me to do. So I put my aspirations and, the things that I wanted to do on hold. Good morning, Doreen. Thanks for joining. So some of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to write a book, I wanted to speak on stages. I wanted to, what I know now, coach other women, and help other women in sort of their personal lives. And I was putting those things on hold, like I said, because I thought that I was doing the things that I was supposed to do and not the things really that I wanted to do. So I had to step back and really think about, well, what was holding me back? What were the things that were happening in my life at the time that was causing me not to be able to, put my toe in the water and then my foot in the water and then kind of just move forward. So I had to really step back and examine that. And that took a period of self-reflection. It took some coaching as well to kind of get myself out of that cycle, to really start thinking about some of the things that I wanted to do. So some of what I was going through was, there were some things that I was telling myself, right? There were some things that I was telling myself that were really not true, but I didn't know it at the time, about why I shouldn't do what I wanted to do. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that I was telling myself. And if this resonates with you, just put it in the chat. Yes, I understand. Yes, I've been there, so that we can really start to unpack some of this stuff. So some of the things I was telling myself was, well, what will they think? What will they think if I decide to just up and do something different? Or if I decide to, write this book, if I decide to, try this new business venture, what will they think? So that was one of the things that I was telling myself. The other was, will they like me? Will they still respect me? And they could be, it could be your family members, it could be your friends, it could be, anyone, but will they like me, right? Will they still respect me? Will they still see me as the same person? The third thing I was telling myself was, well, why now? Why do you want to do that now? You just have so much other stuff going on. Why do you want to just up and change now? The fourth thing was that I was telling myself was that it was just going to be too much. Why am I trying to add another thing to my plate? I have all these things that I know that I'm trying to do or that I have to be responsible for. So it's just going to be too much. Why am I trying to do that now? And then the last thing was just the overwhelming guilt, right? The guilt of we start to sometimes just feel selfish, that why are we trying to do something for ourselves when we know that we're supposed to be taking care of everybody else? So you start to feel guilty and you start to feel like you're being selfish. So these are some of the things that I was telling myself, and these were the things that I realized that was keeping me stuck, right? So I'm just going to go over them again for those of you who joined. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Stephanie. So I was talking about some of the things that hold us back and keep us stuck. And for me personally, there were some things that I was telling myself, right? So I was telling myself, what will they think? What will other people think? Will they still like and respect me? Why now? Why am I doing this now? It's just going to be too much. And I started feeling guilty, right? Like I started feeling like I was being selfish for even thinking about my own goals and aspirations. So those are some of the things that I was telling myself. And I think that when we get into that space, when we start thinking of those things, and they're all negative, right? They're all negative. There's nothing positive about any of the things that I just said. And they're all assumptions. We really don't even know, right, the answers to those questions. But we assume that these are the things that other people are saying or thinking about us. Good morning, Vanessa. So what happens when we start to think in those terms? When we start to think in those terms, number one is our confidence starts to plummet, right? Because we are continually thinking negative thoughts. We are continually questioning ourselves. We're staying in a negative framework. So our confidence starts to plummet over time if we continue to stay in that space of negativity. And the second is that we defer our career, we defer our goals, and we defer our aspirations. And sometimes we can defer them to the point where it just never gets done. So we really have to start to change our mindset, change the way that we're thinking so that we can move past stuck to unstuck. So really at the core, I think, of all of those assumptions, that we start to think that we have the answers to, or all those things that we tell ourselves. At the core of it is the emotions that start to really build up, or the emotions that we start to feel when we want to do something new, right? So you know how it is when you feel like you want to start something brand new, you want to start a business, or you want to write a book, or you want to go after that career promotion. You start to feel like something is sort of bubbling up right inside. And then what sort of surfaces is this anxiety of feeling like, oh my God, what am I about to do, right? And then even on top of that anxiety starts to come fear. So those are two emotions that we start to feel when we want to start out on a new path or a new venture or start something new, is we start to feel anxious about it and fear starts to set in. So those are the really two big emotions I think that we start to feel, and those are the two big emotions that actually hold us back and prevent us from moving forward. So I want to just talk about that a little bit, right? So there are 5, I think, top fears that we all feel when we want to do something new. So I'm going to just go through those, okay? The 5 top fears. So the first fear is the fear of failure, right? So somebody just type that in the chat if you can, if you're not somewhere, if you're somewhere where you can just type that in for me. The first fear is the fear of failure. So we just get so afraid of taking that next step. And the fear of failure is something that we face because we really don't know the outcome, right? So we just fear that if this thing doesn't work out, what's going to happen? What happens if my business fails? What happens if, I start to write this book and I don't get to the end? What happens if I go after this job promotion or this career change and I just don't get it, right? But the truth of the matter is we really don't know what's going to happen. So again, we're making an assumption about something that we have no idea what the end result is going to be. But what we do have control over is we have control over our vision, right? And our vision is huge. So we need to really just own that. We have control over our vision. We have control over our thoughts. So we have to really change our thoughts from negative to positive. And we also have control over our surroundings, which is so important. So that's the people around you, that's your space, your safe space. We have control over that. So those are the things that we really need to concentrate on. The second fear is the fear of the unknown. So someone just type that for me, fear of the unknown, right? So when we are embarking on a new journey, it's scary. We don't really know what's coming down the line. We don't know what to expect. There might be some things that come up that we have to learn. There might be some obstacles that sometimes may present themselves to us. There may be some doors that even close. So there's the fear of the unknown that sometimes prevents us from moving forward, or that keeps us sort of in this frame of being stuck. It's the fear of the unknown, right? But the way that we really sort of, I think, get around that is just embracing our vision. It's just also embracing our faith, right? And this is embracing just what we know to be true in this moment, right? And to know that whatever we are approached with later on down the line, we'll be able to get through it. If it's to learn something new, we'll be able to do that. And we also have to understand that we have to rely on other people sometimes also to help us to move forward. So that's the second fear. The third fear is the fear of judgment, right? So we are just so afraid of what other people are going to say about us that it just keeps us from moving forward. Again, so what will they think? What are they going to think of me? What are they going to think of my product? What are they going to think of what I have to say? And because we are afraid of what other people will say, it keeps us in a space of not really wanting to be open about our vision and not really wanting to be vulnerable as well. So the fear of judgment of other people is something that really keeps us stuck as well. And we have to really understand that other people's opinions really have no bearing on our vision. The fourth is feeling that you're not good enough, right? So the fourth fear is the fear of not being good enough. And that is something I think that we could have a whole nother Facebook Live on that. But I think it's something that for some of us, we may really need to explore at a really deep level, right? This fear of not being good enough. Because for some of us, maybe somewhere along the line, someone has said that to us. Someone has shown us that in some way. Someone maybe has not supported us in the past. So we carry around this feeling of just not being good enough. We're not really good enough to start the next venture. We're not really good enough to go out on our own. We're not really good enough to write that book or to start the business. So the fear of not being good enough prevents us from moving forward, because then we always feel like we have to learn something new. We have to better ourselves in some way. We have to pretty it up in some way in order for us to be able to move forward. When the truth is that most of the time we have all that we need in order to be able to make our visions come true. And then the fifth and the last fear is the fear of change. So we are just so afraid of change. We are, like I had mentioned with my own personal story, I was on autopilot. We get up and do the same thing every day. It becomes comfortable, to really stay in that space. So the fear of change, the fear of something new, really a lot of times keeps us stuck. And what we have to realize is that change is inevitable. Change happens. It's part of life. And we just have to learn how to shift and how to pivot in order to be able to, handle change and to kind of stare change right in the face. So those are my 5 top fears that I think that in order for us to move from stuck to unstuck, in order for us to address this, what's holding you back, we really have to look at these 5 things in order to be able to move forward. Yes, Tawana says, wow, we have all that we need to make our dreams come true. Yes, we do. We really do. And a lot of times we have to actually look back on past accomplishments, right? Look back on things where you were resilient in the past. Look back on things that you've accomplished previously, that you thought that you would never be able to do. Go back to that time and to that place. And then you'll draw from that and be able to, to move forward with the next thing that you have that you want to do in life as well. So now I hope those things were helpful for you guys. I hope that, it sort of just gives you some food for thought, something to really think about in terms of moving forward. And I hope it's going to give you the motivation really that you need to kind of start putting some actions into place in order to get that goal that you want for 2019 and in the future going. So before we leave today, I want to just leave you with 5 powerful questions that I want you to do as homework, right? So you can, I'm going to say them here on the video, but I'm also going to give you a link that you can go to. You can download the questions and you can answer them at a later time as well and kind of work on them as like a homework. Thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad it was helpful. So these are the 5 powerful questions. Let me just take a sip of my coffee. Okay. So the first question is, and this is going to help us move from stuck to unstuck. The first question is, what is your vision? So let's identify what your vision is for 2019 and be very specific about it. So I'm going to use the example of writing a book. So if it's writing a book, I want you to write down, what your book is going to be about. Who is your book targeting? What's the audience? How long the book is going to be? And what you hope to expect from the book. What do you expect the book to do for you in the future, right? And you can apply this to anything in terms of what your goals are, but be very specific about your vision. Second is to identify who do you need help from and what do you need help with in order to move forward with your visions and your goals for 2019. Who do you need help from and what do you need help with, right, in order to move forward? Because like I said, we cannot achieve our goals just being a solo person. We need a team. We need a team of people to help us to move forward. So who do you need on your team and what do you need in order to help you? The third is to identify who or what is standing in your way. Okay? And I said who because it could be a person or what is standing in your way. Identify that so you can come up with an action plan in order to decide how you're going to handle that, right? So if it's a person that's standing in your way, how are you going to handle that person, right? Sometimes it could even be a loved one. And you may not want to cut that person out of your life, but maybe you want to just carve some safe space around them so maybe they just don't become part of this vision, that you have for yourself. Or maybe it is that you have conversations with that person to let them know what your visions are and to let them know how important it is for them to be supportive of you. The fourth question is, what non-truth are you telling yourself? So I talked to you about some of the things I was telling myself, right? So what are some of the non-truths that you are telling yourself? What are some of the assumptions that you have that probably have no validity? But we need to really identify those things so we can start to remove them from our conscious. And then the fifth and last powerful question is, what's one action step that you can take today, next week, or next month to make your vision and to make your goals come true? So those are the 5 powerful questions that I want you guys to work on. And I think that it's really going to help you just unpack some things and hopefully help you move, to the next stage. So in order to get those questions, you can just go to this link, justtherightbalance.com/what is holding you back. If someone could type that in the chat for me, that would be great. So the link is justtherightbalance.com/what is holding you back. And it's going to have on there just the 5 questions that I just gave you, but it's a sheet. You can download it. There's space to kind of free write. And I hope that that's going to be helpful, like I said, to help you guys move forward. So this is the end of the Facebook Live this morning. I want to thank you so much for joining. Join me every Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning for Coffee and C-Suite Conversations. And we'll have topics around, like I said, leadership, self-care, personal development, and health and wellness. And if there's anything that you want me to talk about, anything you want me to address on these lives, then just please leave it in the comments. And again, I'm Dr. Lisa. Thank you so much for joining, and you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye-bye.